Excited to show off some pretty interesting Indian collectibles here. The first being these two matchboxes. I had never seen these before, and a seller had both of them, so I bought them both. This is from India. This is Star Matches. This one is super cool because look who you've got on both sides of this. Really tiny matchbox, but two of the all-time greats, the two greatest Indian batsmen before Sachin came. So that's one of them, and then this one is also cool. This one is just Gavaskar. Really cool. All right, but that's not all. Got a lot of cut cards, whatever you want to call these. I guess before we look at that, cool postcard. Viv, Imran Khan, Dev, pretty cool. But yeah, so these would be probably considered strip cards. I've talked about these in previous videos, but this size of strip card I had never come across. And again, these to me are just super cool. When I think about the things I like to collect, rarity, the greatness of the players, something I haven't seen before, collectability, and some amount of nostalgia or being important for that era. So obviously I did not grow up in India in the 1970s and 80s. That's probably pretty obvious. But for the people that did, there weren't there weren't even gum cards then. There were just these strip cards. So, whether you were a kid or maybe someone who just loved cricket and you loved collecting, like this is what you had. This is what was up for offer. And I'll show kind of a few different styles here, but a lot of really the Indian and Pakistani players feature usually pretty heavily in these strip cards. But then you also get some foreigners mixed in. I'm not going to go through all the players, but there's a lot of really excellent players in these lots, which makes sense, right? Like if you were a kid, you would be most excited to get, a player that maybe you've heard of before. But how cool are these? For my friends who are Indian or Pakistani, would love to hear. Or at least of that descent, would love to hear what you guys think of these. But yeah, these are pretty special. Value's an interesting thing, right? Because I didn't pay a ton for these, but I would be less willing to trade or sell these than I would be some cards that are obviously valuable, right? Like I might have a card that's worth $50, but I would be willing to trade or sell that because I knew that I could replace it, because there's enough out there that you could find another one. These are different. I'd never seen these before, and no idea when's the next time I'll have a chance to buy these or something like this again. So anyway, I think these are really cool, and I don't really care who else does, but hopefully you do. All right, here's some other mini strip cards. Some of these I'd seen in bigger versions, but never in these like super tiny ones. By the way, it's just sitting right there, but like there's a really cool Ian Botham with his name spelled with a Y in it. I heard from an Indian friend that actually that's a pretty common spelling of Ian Botham, that was normal to see in India. So it's not like that's just a really terrible typo. That's actually pretty normal. But here you start seeing some non-Indian Pakistani players, some great players like Boycott, and like one of the cool things, by the way, with AI now is you can actually like put in specific names and it'll give you a really good indication of what year these might be from. Oh, there's another nice Sunny. So this is a little bit bigger than the other one that we saw earlier. Very cool. But my guess, I haven't done that with these, but my guess is these are probably early 80s. would be my best guess. But if anyone has a better guess, let me know. You know, these are a lot of the great players of that era. All right, I'm trying to see if I can flip through these pretty quickly. Don't want to damage any of them, but I did want to show that there's a Shastri there. Anyway, I think that's really cool. And there are some larger ones in here. So, you know, I got Botham and some more smaller ones here. Oh, there's a nice one. Alan Border. Another Gavaskar. So, you know, like these players are the players who were great in the late 70s to 80s. So that's most likely where these are from. And here are some larger ones. So just to, you know, compare the size. So these are quite a bit bigger, and you know, some more of the great Pakistani players here. It's always nice to get some Imran Khans. These are really cool. But yeah, like another thing that influences value is if you can actually have proof of who printed them and, you know, were they licensed and all that kind of thing. I would bet good money that these were probably not licensed and probably not included in any kind of specific packaging. They may have been, but I'm guessing that if they were, that may have been lost to time. I'm not sure how you're going to, you know, get proof of whether this was related to some kind of gum product or some kind of food product or cigarette product or whatever. So, you know, I think these will probably go down in history as being, you know, unlicensed or unbranded or whatever, which is fine. That doesn't mean that they're not legitimately the best thing that Indian kids and cricket lovers had to collect at the time. They probably were the very best that were available, which is cool. Here's a cool card. So this is not. This is actually similarly probably unbranded, but this is a really cool and very hard to find Sachin, I guess, trump card you could call it. The timing of this, if you look at his test played, he'd only played 28 tests, and I think that would have made us like an early 1993 issue, which is kind of cool. So, you know, Sachin and Kumble both were very young at that point. So I'm not sure if I'll go through all the rest of these. There's some more really cool cards in that lot. But I did want to show that there's even bigger ones here too. So, you know, you go from the really tiny ones to medium size, and now these are the like giant ones. And these have been previously glued into an album. You can tell that because the backs are pretty mangled. But again, like really cool. I like these a lot. All right, so that was probably more time than I had expected to spend on those, but wanted to really show those off. Here you have something that's not cricket related. This is arguably the greatest field hockey team of all time. They contained, you know, the prime of maybe the greatest player of all time. So this is from the 1936 Olympics. I got this actually as a kind of a nice thank you from a friend who I did a deal with for actually some of these cricket cards, and he had this and he sent it to me, and I thought it was pretty cool. Like I said, maybe the greatest team of all time. This team, I want to say they won every match by a huge margin. This was the 1936 Olympics. They won the 32 Olympics. They won the 28 Olympics just in very dominant fashion. But I think this might have been their most dominant team. And then after the war, they came back and had even more dominance once they became, you know, an independent nation, which was really cool as well. So not a huge knowledgeable person about field hockey, but thought that was some pretty cool history. And then to the kind of final cards I wanted to go through here. Here you have your kind of oversized version of Big Fun. There are a handful of these Guts and Glory cards that have Sachin on them. This is not the most common. It's also not the rarest, but kind of a cool oversized card there. And then these are pretty rare. Mickey Mouse cards. These are from 1999, early 99. And, you've got Sachin there. I want to say this whole set's probably in the $200 range USD. But Sachin is a bigger draw than some of the other players. But you do have Dravid, and you've got Kumble, right? You've got some great players in there. You got Azure, you got Ganguly. So really cool set. Was happy to pick those up. And then a couple cards here that are most likely like an unbranded type of thing. So again, like I talked earlier, a lot of people would probably stay away or at least not be as interested in unbranded cards. But the timing of these are cool. 2011, around the time that Kohli's Cricket Attacks was coming out, this card and the Sachin would have been created, unless someone created these afterwards, which I don't know why they would have. So anyway, that's my my little lot of Indian cards and collectibles for today. I'll have to spend some time getting these stacked back up, but really cool stuff there, and happy to add these kind of unique and quirky things to my collection.